You've been feeding yourself a lie, and it's been holding you back for years. That you're in control of your life, but deep down you know the truth. It's your ego, not you, that's running the show. It's there in every snap decision, every judgment, every unthinking reaction that drags you further away from your true potential. And it's not just a few small slip-ups. These unconscious patterns are sabotaging everything you could become. So, here's the real question. Will you keep letting your ego decide your fate, or are you ready to break free? If you're truly committed to your personal growth, now's the perfect moment to take action. Subscribe to our channel Motivation Basics and like this video if you're committed to improve every day. Don't keep this to yourself and share it with someone who's ready to break through their own barriers today. Let's stop talking and start doing this together. A pressure cooker on the verge of explosion describes what happens when something strong inside takes control. The strain is becoming increasingly apparent until it finally breaks. The next thing you know, your mind is coming up with an excuse to make you do something you know is wrong. You feel like you're being led astray by an invisible hand toward choices you'll come to deeply regret. This isn't about making a few blunders. It's about the fundamental causes of vices, addictions, and the things you wish you could overcome. Tolle emphasizes this in A New Earth, where he states the mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. In this context, your mind is working against you, feeding impulses and justifications that keep you enslaved to your ego. Now here's the catch. It's not about having a strong will. Determination isn't enough. What you really need is the power of presence, which is much more potent. You are led to make better decisions when your awareness grows powerful enough to overcome your impulses. Let's talk about how you may develop this presence and use these challenging times to your advantage. Take willpower as an example. It's like trying to hold something down with your own hands. Consider addiction as an example. Envision yourself feeling the want to get a drink. The bottles are already there, ready for you. You can feel the tug growing stronger and stronger. The true impact of being present can be felt at this very second. You can't help but head over there, grab a drink, and settle in. Being totally oblivious means you have zero clue what you're up to. In your unconsciousness, you are already drinking from the glass. At the time, you are unaware that you are consuming alcohol. This is where presence becomes a game changer. Eckhart Tolle writes in The Power of Now, realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. It's in this very moment of heightened temptation that your power lies. The moment you become aware of the impulse, it starts to lose its grip on you. But this requires practice. You can't just will your mind to change. You must cultivate awareness and become mindful of your thoughts and feelings. Regarding food, it's the same. Many people I've talked to have battled an addiction to eating. Some of their claims include waking up in the middle of the night already having eaten. Unbeknownst to them, they've already rummaged through the refrigerator for the chocolate cake, and they're halfway through when the realization hits. What am I doing? Consequently, understanding doesn't come until much later. This is exactly what Tolle describes in A New Earth as the mind's endless stream of unconscious thoughts, controlling and shaping your actions without you even noticing. It's the compulsive thinking he refers to, thinking that makes you act out without stopping to reflect. It takes strength of character to say no to temptation. Think of it this way. You know it's not the right time to turn on the TV since you're not in the mood for that, but you can't resist the urge. On top of that, you warned yourself explicitly not to do that. Nonetheless, you can't ignore it. My time here is up. Absolute nonsense. One possible response is, I'm going to hold this down. That is the strength of character. Under my leadership, it will not occur. You are repressing the desire, which I am also aware of. As time goes on, pressing down on something usually causes them to burst. It's like a boiling pot. It's out of your hands. Tolle's teachings align perfectly with this. He talks about the pain, Body in the power of now, the emotional residue we carry with us that reacts to triggers, pushing us into autopilot decisions. If you try to repress these emotions and impulses, you're simply adding fuel to the fire. The boiling pot will burst sooner or later. Instead, Tolle suggests that we stop trying to suppress or control our urges and instead recognize them as they arise. This awareness allows you to step out of your unconscious patterns and into a state of conscious freedom. The next step is to mentally justify your actions by stating why you won't be deterred. A reason will be provided to you by your thoughts. I chatted with a sick, unhealthy, and dangerously overweight man who was addicted to food. I mourned the loss of such a wonderful man. On top of that, he continued talking to me. The thought you've had a rough day would cross his mind right before he would have a binge. You merit some kind of compensation. Its morality is justified in the text. Even though I don't intend to keep this up for much longer, I really need a reward right now. This is the only bright spot in an otherwise bleak life. How can I proceed? So that's all there is to it. There is no other thing that brings me delight like this. This makes sense to me. Track down the fridge. Be careful. I was able to demonstrate that this line of thought is dishonest. But by then, it was too late to save him. I don't mind if he isn't physically there anymore. He probably goes through a rebirth into the complete opposite now, perhaps to learn a lesson, because that's what it takes. Just like I told your first interrogator, practice presence power while you're alone in your room and free from outside influences. Step into the human form. Find your center. Pay attention to the present moment. When you have the chance, I recommend that you hone your perceptual abilities. Embrace the awareness that dwells in every cell of your body and feel its presence throughout your entire existence. This moment of awareness is where true transformation begins. Tolle's wisdom urges us to embrace the now without judgment or resistance. In the power of now, he says, the mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. By becoming present, you can start to use your mind as the powerful tool it was meant to be. Rather than giving in to unconscious impulses and justifications, you can train yourself to step into your power. As a result, enough people are there to satisfy this need whenever it hits. What you do with it is essentially, it will stay even if you order it to go away, or something like. Regardless, it will accomplish the task. No matter what it is, it has an impact. You start to notice that its wants aren't good as you observe it more. Following such impulses as they come is a type of personal exercise for those who are spiritually connected. So, instead of fighting it, welcome it whenever you sense that kind of pull and see it for what it is. A personal spiritual practice. I can say it with confidence. Tolle teaches us that every moment of tension, every impulse to act unconsciously, is an opportunity to grow spiritually. As he writes in A New Earth, you can only lose something that you have, but you cannot lose something that you are. When you learn to recognize your impulses as part of your ego-driven mind, you begin to see through them. You begin to see through them. You stop identifying with them. Instead, you find your true self, the one that exists beyond thought and ego. How can one transform this into a spiritual discipline? Immediately, you can tell that this is a fantastic opportunity to gain some experience. A decent starting point would be to do nothing, or at least to delay acting on the impulse. Following that, you have to observe. Picture this. Right before you are going to turn on the TV, you have the hankering to do it. As you can see, this is going to be my next spiritual exercise. I'm going to wait 3 more minutes before turning on this TV program. For the next 3 minutes, you listen to your gut. Take a look. From your perspective, it's just energy. Oh, I get it now. There it is. It is palpable. Like a little gremlin, it looks. Therefore, it may be very helpful to establish a time gap before giving in as an initial exercise. You omitted the phrase, "I'm not going to give in," from your words. 30 minutes, come back your reply. Within that 3-minute window, I intend to keep a careful eye on you. By illuminating this energy rush, you raise its level of awareness and consciousness. It could be a physical manifestation of an internal energy or a state of mind. Furthermore, it may dangerously invade your mind and lead you to. I just explained this to a friend of mine. It hits you like a ton of bricks, and you know you should cave to your craving. You can do anything along those lines. In particular, you need to pay close enough attention and be fully present to know better than to put your faith in any thought. You should not accept as factual every idea that enters your head. You keep an eye on it, as it is fundamental to the idea. Yes, you are right. That is the same idea that captivates you. The concept and the feeling that drives it are distinct entities. You only have 3 minutes allotted to you. All you have to do is relax and take it all in for those 3 minutes. Indeed, doesn't it fascinate you? Fantastic approach to enlightenment. In his book, The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle writes, "The mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive." This insight reveals a truth we often overlook. Our thoughts, which seem so real and convincing, are not always our friends. By simply observing them, we step out of their grip and into a place of awareness. It's in this pause, in the moments of noticing, where true freedom begins. You become more self-aware as you observe. You try to keep an eye out for it, just a short 3-minute interval. Evaluate how you're feeling after the 3 minutes. It is quite unlikely that it has dissolved just yet. Even if it has dissolved just yet, even if it has, it is still there. Could I please have an additional 2 or 3 minutes? Is it bold of you to challenge me in that way? In what ways am I self-aware? Indeed, I agree. Telling you this would be a lie. I am so over this. Carry it out. At long last, following a brief interval of what comes after that, there is no clue. Perhaps you feel like you can put the inclination out of your mind now that it has diminished and gone dormant. Additionally, you may find that you lose control of your urges after 5 minutes and end up acting on them regardless. Even a 5-minute time difference was significant. And when that happens, it's better to schedule time for your spiritual practice, when you shouldn't try to push it away, but instead watch it unfold. Therefore, you shouldn't try to knock it down. Following your line of inquiry, you come upon the following. "Oh, there you are. Hold you down," is obviously not the right thing to say to a gremlin. You ought to examine it. A gremlin is present. There it is. Eckhart Tolle's teachings remind us that whatever you think the world is withholding from you, you are withholding from the world. This profound statement calls us to confront the internal patterns that often lead us to sabotage our potential. We must not only look at the surface of our cravings and impulses, but deeply investigate them with the awareness that is the key to our freedom. The more you observe, the more you are able to see through the illusion. One fascinating aspect is that anything can be transformed when it is brought to the light of awareness, when it is illuminated with consciousness. It becomes tangible the moment you make it conscious of it. The famous picture from children's books, etc., is here. Stick with the frog no matter what. Killing it is never acceptable. You gently plant a kiss on the amphibian's lips. The moment you kiss the frog, it turns into the prince too. Thus, the frog moves from a point of, here mythology meets reality. Some teachings from these fairy tales have stood the test of time, and it's worth noting that they weren't all penned by the same authors. For a very long time, they were passed down orally. One example of the wealth of information contained in these stories is the wisdom in kissing the frog, which changes into something beautiful. Eckhart Tolle also speaks about the power of transformation in his book A New Earth, where he says, "The flower does not pick and choose the bees that come to it, and it does not decide which part of the world gets to experience its beauty. It simply blooms." This wisdom shows us that, just as the flower opens without judgment, we too can embrace the energy and impulses within us without judgment. When we do this, we allow them to transform rather than repress them. In accepting them, we transcend the fear that has kept us locked in cycles of self-sabotage. You have chosen to tolerate and even laugh off the terrible tragedy that has occurred to you. The second your eyes land on it, it changes completely. In a nutshell, that is the act of worship. Plus, you'll come to understand that initially, and possibly even after the time gap, you keep doing it. Nevertheless, as time goes on, this gap widens. If you're fortunate, the driving power behind the impulse will eventually resurface. But gradually, it starts to go. All of these processes that work against you will gradually crumble as you bring your attention to it. There it is. You should pause and examine them. Take the frog, for example. Your energy fields are inhabited by frogs and gremlins, whatever you choose to name them. There is energy stashed there. Separately, they aren't awful. Similar to the pain body, they represent pent-up emotional energy. Being fully present is the dissolution of the pain body. Depending on your definition, putting a log into a fire will cause it to either burn up or undergo a transformation. It has undergone a transformation into presence. Back in the Middle Ages, we have the famous example. A number of philosophers held alchemy in high regard. The common understanding is that alchemy involved transforming base metals into gold through chemical reactions. Rather than turning lead into gold, the original intent of alchemy was to change people's perceptions of the world. The true essence of alchemy had to be hidden behind multiple layers of symbolism for many years out of fear of persecution. First glance, the focus on altering external objects belied a deep metaphor for altering an aspect of our own nature, specifically our state of consciousness, from one of ignorance and unconsciousness to one of ignorance and unconsciousness to one of awareness and enlightenment. Carl Jung, a famous psychologist, delves extensively into this intriguing notion, shedding light on how the alchemical process mirrors the inner workings of the human mind. The objective isn't to make physical gold, but rather to transform the lead of our failures, flaws, and difficulties into something far more valuable: self-awareness, spiritual growth, and consciousness. One of the great things about this process is that you get to be an active participant. You have been given a special spiritual practice by life to aid you on your personal path of growth, converting negativity into positivity. In this case, heightened self-awareness is the potential in every challenge and uncomfortable emotion. You are capable of completely embracing this process and reaching a whole new level of consciousness. Eckhart Tolle beautifully captures this in The Power of Now, where he writes, "When you become comfortable with uncertainty, infinite possibilities open up." This is the invitation in every moment of difficulty and discomfort. It's not about avoiding or fixing the discomfort, but about transforming it into an opportunity for spiritual growth and expanded awareness. As we embrace the present moment, with its messiness and complexity, we become aware of the space where transformation can happen. Stop wasting time and make every moment count in your life. Subscribe to Motivation Basics for daily motivational videos on personal growth. Show your commitment by liking the video and commenting the word GROW. Be sure to share it with someone who needs to slow down in life. We're in this together.